OMG. Your soulmate ex begs don't watch this video, but you must. My beloved child. Don't look away, because the person who once stood beside your soulmate is hoping you never hear what is about to be revealed. Their ex has one desperate wish, that you close this video before the truth reaches you. But why? What could possibly make someone from your soulmate's past care whether you discover what happened? Stay till the end, because this story is not really about an ex trying to return. It is about something they know, something your soulmate recently began realizing about you. For a long time, the ex believed the past still gave them a certain place in your soulmate's mind. They thought old memories could never completely disappear. Then your name started appearing differently. Your soulmate stopped speaking about you like an ordinary person. Their expression changed whenever someone mentioned you. Their decisions became quieter, deeper, more serious. And that was when the ex noticed something they were never prepared to see. Your soulmate was not simply interested in you. They were beginning to imagine a future where you were the person standing beside them. Don't skip, because that realization was only the beginning. Then something happened behind the scenes that changed everything. Your soulmate's ex learned about a private conversation, one your soulmate never expected them to hear about. Someone had asked your soulmate a simple question: if you could choose one person to build your next chapter with, who would it be? There was supposed to be hesitation. There was supposed to be confusion. Instead, your soulmate immediately thought of you. And somehow, that answer reached the ex suddenly. Their strange behavior made sense. Why would they practically beg for this message to never reach you? Because once you understand how deeply your presence has changed your soulmate, the uncertainty between you may begin disappearing. Something huge is waiting for you, because there is another detail the ex knows that even you may not know yet. Your soulmate recently compared what they felt in the past with what they feel when imagining a life with you, and the difference surprised them. With you, they could picture peace, growth, a home that feels emotionally safe, conversations that still matter years later, a future that does not need to be forced. And when that realization arrived, something from their past quietly lost its power. But here is where everything takes an unexpected turn. The ex is not worried simply because your soulmate cares about you. They are worried because your soulmate has apparently made a private decision, and you have not heard it yet. Stay till the end of this story, because the next part changes the meaning of everything you have heard so far. Your soulmate has been preparing themselves to stop hiding behind uncertainty. They know there comes a moment when feelings must become choices, when imagination must become action, and when someone has to finally say what they have been holding inside. And recently, your soulmate reached that moment. The ex somehow discovered what your soulmate intends to do next, and that is why they would rather you never watch this. Because if you learn what has already been decided, you may finally understand why certain things have been shifting around you. This is bigger than an old relationship. Bigger than jealousy. Bigger than memories. Your soulmate has chosen something about you that cannot easily be taken back. And the one sentence they said privately about their next move is the exact sentence the ex never wanted reaching you. Something happened next that your soulmate's ex never expected to witness. Your soulmate stopped looking backward. Not dramatically, not with some huge announcement, but through small decisions that revealed something much bigger. Old memories stopped controlling their emotions. Old questions stopped needing answers. And whenever the future came up, somehow their thoughts kept returning to you. But don't skip, because the ex discovered something even more surprising. Your soulmate had apparently been keeping one private thought about you completely hidden. They believe meeting you changed the direction of their life. There was something about your presence that made them question what they truly wanted, what kind of relationship they deserved, and who they could actually imagine beside them when everything became real. The ex noticed this transformation before you did. That is why they would rather you never hear what comes next. Because once you understand what your soulmate has been quietly preparing themselves to say, you may never look at this connection the same way again. Stay till the end, because this is where the story becomes much deeper. Someone close to your soulmate recently asked whether they were truly ready to leave the past where it belonged and move toward what their heart wanted now. Your soulmate became silent. Not because they were confused, but because they already knew the answer. And then came the sentence that changed everything: I know who I would choose now. They did not need to explain who they meant. The person listening already knew. It was you. When that conversation eventually reached the ex, everything suddenly became clear. The ex realized your soulmate was no longer simply wondering about you. They had started making emotional space for you. They were imagining what would happen if the distance disappeared, if the unanswered questions finally became a conversation, and if both of you stopped pretending this connection meant less than it actually did. Something huge is waiting for you, because your soulmate has apparently gone one step beyond imagining it. They have been thinking about exactly how they could finally make their intentions clear. And this is the detail the ex desperately hoped would remain hidden. Your soulmate has been waiting for one specific moment, a moment when they can approach you without confusion, without bringing the weight of their past into something that deserves a fresh beginning. They do not want to offer you half a decision. They want to know that when they step forward, they are stepping forward completely. But recently, something changed. That waiting period may be ending much sooner than anyone expected. Your soulmate apparently said they were tired of allowing timing, hesitation, and unanswered questions to decide the future for them. They wanted to make one choice for themselves. And the ex heard enough to understand exactly where that choice was leading. Don't skip now, because there is still one missing piece. Your soulmate did not only reveal who they would choose. They revealed what they are prepared to change in their life to make that choice possible, and when the ex discovered what that change was, even they realized this was no temporary feeling. Now listen closely, because the change your soulmate described was far bigger than anyone expected. They were not talking about changing one small habit or sending you a simple message. They were talking about removing everything that kept them emotionally tied to a chapter they had already outgrown. And this is exactly what made the ex uncomfortable. Your soulmate had finally understood something. They could not keep looking toward you while leaving one foot inside yesterday. So privately, they began closing unfinished doors, letting old expectations disappear, and asking themselves one question they had avoided for far too long. If I stopped worrying about everyone else's opinion, what would I actually choose? The answer kept leading back to you. Don't skip, because something huge is waiting for you. The ex apparently expected your soulmate to eventually become uncertain again. They thought time would weaken whatever your soulmate felt toward you. Instead, the opposite happened. The longer your soulmate remained quiet, the clearer their feelings became. And then they admitted something nobody expected. You were not competing with their past anymore, because in their heart, that competition had already ended. But there was another revelation, and this one completely changed the atmosphere. Your soulmate confessed that there was one particular moment involving you they kept replaying privately. It may have looked completely ordinary from the outside, something you said, the way you responded, perhaps even a moment when you simply remained yourself without trying to impress anyone. Yet that moment stayed with them. Why? Because your soulmate saw something in you they had been searching for without realizing it. They saw sincerity. They saw emotional depth. They saw someone they could imagine speaking to when life became complicated and celebrating with when life became beautiful. Stay till the end, because the ex discovered that your soulmate had compared that feeling with everything they experienced before, and suddenly understood why their past never felt complete. It was not because every old memory was meaningless. It was because those memories belonged to the person they used to be. You were connected to the person they were becoming. And once your soulmate understood that difference, their next decision became almost impossible to stop. What happened afterward is the reason the ex would rather you never reach the final part of this story. Your soulmate apparently made themselves a promise. The next time an opportunity appeared to move closer to you, they would not hide behind hesitation. They would say what needed to be said. They would let you see the side of them that had remained hidden. And most importantly, they would finally reveal why you became so important to them in the first place. But wait, because even that is not the biggest revelation. There is one thing your soulmate has never told you about the moment their feelings changed. Someone else witnessed it. Someone else noticed the exact second your soulmate began looking at you differently, and that person recently confirmed something your soulmate had been trying to keep private. The ex heard about this conversation too, and suddenly their desperate wish for you to never discover the truth made perfect sense. Because according to the person who witnessed everything, your soulmate's feelings for you began much earlier than you think. And the reason they stayed silent all this time is about to change everything. Here is where the hidden truth finally begins coming into focus. The person who witnessed that early moment remembered something your soulmate thought nobody had noticed. The instant you walked away, your soulmate kept watching in your direction, completely lost in thought. Later, when your name came up naturally in conversation, their entire energy shifted. They tried to act normal, but one question escaped them. Do you think they felt it too? That single sentence revealed everything. Your soulmate's feelings had begun long before anyone understood their importance, but they stayed silent because they were afraid of confusing a genuine connection with temporary emotion. They wanted certainty before bringing you into something meaningful. Don't skip, because the ex eventually learned this detail. And suddenly realized your soulmate had not been pulled toward you because of loneliness, competition, or an attempt to forget the past. You had become important on your own. Your soulmate had quietly studied their own feelings, waited for them to fade, questioned them repeatedly, and instead of disappearing, they became clearer. That was the moment the ex understood why you were never supposed to watch this story unfold. Once you knew the truth, the silence between you and your soulmate could no longer mean what it meant before. Stay till the end, because something huge is waiting for you. Your soulmate then made another private admission that surprised even the person listening. They said there were countless moments when they almost reached out differently, almost revealed more, almost stopped protecting what they felt. But each time, they pulled back because they wanted their next chapter to begin without unfinished emotions following behind them. Now that process is nearly complete. The memories that once confused them no longer control their decisions. The opinions of people around them no longer carry the same weight. Even the ex can sense it, and that is what makes this revelation so powerful. Your soulmate is no longer asking, "What if this goes wrong?" Their question has changed to, "What if I lose something extraordinary because I waited too long?" And that question has awakened a completely different side of them. A side willing to become clearer. A side willing to stop hiding. A side willing to discover whether the future they keep imagining with you could actually become real. But there is still one final secret behind the ex's reaction, and it has nothing to do with wanting your soulmate back. Because the ex knows something about your soulmate's next move that you still do not. Your soulmate has apparently chosen a specific way to finally break the silence, not with some meaningless gesture, but with a conversation designed to leave no confusion about where they stand. They want you to understand that this was not decided overnight. Every delay, every private realization, every moment of uncertainty eventually brought them toward one conclusion. They cannot keep pretending you are simply another person passing through their story. Something about you has remained when everything else became quieter. And now the ex understands that stopping you from hearing this would not change what your soulmate has already realized. The past cannot compete with a future someone has freely chosen. So remember this final detail, because it changes the entire meaning of everything. Your soulmate's ex was never truly afraid of this video. They were afraid of what might happen after you finally understand the truth, because somewhere beyond all the silence, your soulmate has already decided that when the right moment arrives, they are going to stop leaving you guessing. But the story did not end with that decision, because something happened afterward that even your soulmate had not planned. The ex discovered that your soulmate had started preparing for the conversation in their own mind. They imagined what they would say if you were standing directly in front of them. They wondered which truth should come first, how much they should reveal, and whether you had secretly been feeling the same unspoken connection. Don't skip, because there was one sentence they kept returning to: "I should have been honest sooner." Those words changed the entire situation. Your soulmate was no longer questioning whether you mattered. They were questioning why they had allowed so much time to pass without letting you know. And when the ex heard this, they understood something uncomfortable. There was nothing left to convince your soulmate about. Their feelings had already survived silence, distance, uncertainty, and time. Instead of disappearing, they had become more focused. Your soulmate had reached the point where remaining silent felt harder than finally telling you the truth. Then came the revelation nobody around them expected. Your soulmate admitted that they had secretly imagined two versions of their future. In one, they continued exactly as they were, comfortable, protected, saying nothing, never discovering what could have happened between you. In the other, they took one brave step toward you and finally allowed the unanswered question to receive an answer. And strangely, it was the first future that frightened them more. Not because their life would be empty, but because somewhere inside them would always remain one question: what if I had spoken? Stay till the end, because something huge is waiting for you. That realization became the turning point. Your soulmate understood they would rather discover the truth than spend years wondering about possibility. And this is precisely what the ex never expected. They assumed your soulmate would choose familiarity over uncertainty. Instead, your soulmate began choosing possibility over regret. Not because anyone pressured them. Not because someone persuaded them. Simply because when they pictured the person they genuinely wanted to know more deeply, their thoughts continued arriving at the same place, you. And now everything is moving toward one moment. Your soulmate has not forgotten the past, they have simply stopped allowing it to write their future. The ex can see that clearly now. They know there is no sentence they can say, no memory they can mention, and no old chapter they can reopen that will erase what your soulmate discovered for themselves. But there is one final twist they never expected: your soulmate apparently believes you may have misunderstood their silence. They suspect you could have interpreted their hesitation as a lack of feeling when the truth was almost the opposite. They were quiet because what they felt mattered enough to make them careful. And now they want to correct that misunderstanding. Don't skip what comes next, because the biggest revelation is no longer about what your soulmate feels. It is about what they believe you feel, and someone recently gave them one piece of information about you that made them suddenly think, maybe I still have a chance. The moment they heard it, their entire plan changed. And that one piece of information was almost unbelievably simple. Someone told your soulmate that your silence might not mean rejection either. Think about what that did to them. Until then, they had been preparing themselves for the possibility that they had waited too long, that perhaps you had already emotionally moved beyond whatever existed between you. But suddenly another possibility appeared. What if both of you had been protecting yourselves at the same time? What if your soulmate had mistaken your distance for disinterest while you had mistaken their hesitation for the exact same thing? Don't skip, because that possibility changed their entire approach. Your soulmate began remembering conversations differently. Little pauses suddenly mattered. Certain looks made more sense. Moments they had dismissed as coincidence returned with completely different meaning. And for the first time, they allowed themselves to wonder whether this connection had been quietly moving in both directions all along. The ex heard about this shift too, and immediately understood why everything was accelerating. Your soulmate no longer believed they were stepping toward a completely closed door. But then your soulmate did something nobody expected: they refused to rush. Stay till the end, because something huge is waiting for you. Instead of turning one hopeful clue into a fantasy, they decided they wanted something real. No guessing. No interpreting every tiny sign. No building an entire future around assumptions. They wanted one honest conversation where both of you could finally understand what was true. And this revealed just how much they had changed. The old version of your soulmate might have remained trapped inside endless questions, but now they were thinking differently: if this matters, I need to be clear. That sentence reached the ex, and suddenly the ex understood there was nothing left to interrupt. Your soulmate was not chasing excitement. They were searching for clarity. They wanted to know you beyond imagination, beyond stories from other people, beyond the mystery that had surrounded this connection. And if the answer was mutual, they were prepared to stop treating the future like something that would magically happen on its own. Yet there is one more revelation, and this may be the detail that explains why the ex wanted you nowhere near this truth. Your soulmate recently spoke about